Hello, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make chicken and rice soup. Restaurant quality, but so simple to make at home. My name is Carrie with eatingonadime.com, where we share delicious, easy, family-friendly recipes because we're on a mission to help families eat well on a budget. Our recipes are not complicated and have weird ingredients, everything you can find at your local grocery store, and you don't even have to know how to cook in order to make these. Now you can find today's recipe, chicken and rice soup, linked in the description. But before we get started, I want to remind you to like the video, drop a comment on what you would serve with your chicken and rice soup. Are we thinking rolls? Are we thinking garlic bread? Are we thinking breadsticks? Let me know below. And also don't forget to subscribe. By being a subscriber, it's free and you'll get notified every single time that we have a new video up. And if you haven't been paying attention, we're posting a ton of videos because we want to help you eat on a dime. First things first, we need some celery and some carrots. So we're going to dice these up. Normally I would use my dicer, but it's not very much. And sometimes the hand dicer gets pretty complicated in the carrots. So when we're going to dice, we have 2 sticks of celery. We are going to run our knife through it at least once. If they're bigger, you can do it twice, just the lengthwise. And then we're just going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. So remember, this is a soup, and you want more than just the celery on your spoon. So that's why I'm saying it's important to dice it up, because you want to get several things on that bite. So you get all the flavors of everything in one spoon. So that's kind of how you decide how big to cut something up when you're making a recipe, even if it doesn't tell you, is because of this is a soup. If this was a stew or a roast, we would do them much larger. Then we're going to do the same thing on our carrots. We're going to cut them in half lengthwise and break them into 2 pieces. Then we're going to run our knife through them either once or twice, depending how big they are. So this one I only ran it through once, but this one gets a little bit bigger. So I'm going to run it through twice. And the reason is because I want them bite size. You don't have to, but again, it's the same motto with the, I want it to fit on a spoon. Plus, if you're in a hurry, the smaller they are, the faster they cook. So just like little pieces, almost like if you were to buy them frozen. Again, you could cheat and buy frozen veggies. Nobody is going to be upset with you on that. I got them all diced up. So I'm going to move this to a bowl just because I like to get all my chopping done before we head to the stovetop. I feel like it just makes it so much easier. If you have trouble and you get stressed, like, cooking this while chopping up chicken, just do it all before and then just head to the stove. And it's so much easier. You just throw it in. You don't have to overthink and stress. Now we need 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. You can also do boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And then we're just going to cut these up into chunks. Now I'm just basically quartering them. And the only reason I'm doing this, because we're actually going to shred the chicken, is just so it cooks faster in the stovetop. Remember, it's going to have the same taste, but this was a little bigger, so I'm going to cut it into 6. But this piece of chicken is going to cook way faster on the stovetop than a whole piece of chicken. And again, we're just trying to get this recipe done as fast as possible, but without sacrificing any flavor. Okay, now it's time to head to the stovetop. In a large stock pot, we are going to heat up to high heat and add about a tablespoon of olive oil or avocado oil. And we're going to add in those chopped up carrots and celery. Then I'm going to bust out my favorite spoon/spatula for sauteing. And we are going to saute these carrots and celery. Let's cook these for about 5 minutes until they're soft, or at least softer. It's kind of crazy, but carrots actually take longer to cook and become nice and soft than even the chicken. So that's why we get them started first. They've been cooking for about 5 minutes. So we're going to add in our minced garlic. We're adding in about a tablespoon of pre-minced or 3 cloves of garlic minced. And we're going to cook this for just about a minute until you start smelling the garlic. In my mind, that kind of activates the garlic. Now we're going to add a half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Then we're going to add those cubed chicken breasts, or not cubed, those we cut into large pieces. And then we're going to add 8 cups of chicken broth. 1 carton is 4 cups, so you'll do 2 cartons of broth. If you want to save some money, you could just do 4 cups of chicken broth and 4 cups of water, and you'll still get a lot of flavor in this recipe. But I do recommend at least doing 4 cups of broth, just because that's what's going to really make this soup extra flavorful. So I got them all added. Now I'm going to make sure that chicken is pushed into the broth if you had any piled up. And then we're going to add the lid, and we're going to cook this and bring it to a boil. Go ahead and stir that rice in, and then we are going to let it come to a boil again. It's back to a boil, so you're going to add the lid, turn the heat down to about medium low, let it simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. It's been about 20-ish minutes. I tested a carrot, and they are nice and soft, and I tested some rice, and it is nice and soft too. So now we're going to remove the chicken from the pot and shred. Once the chicken's removed, just take, oops, that one flew right off. Just take 2 forks and shred the chicken. And as you can see, it's just shredding perfectly easily. And then we're going to, remember, you want this small enough to fit on a spoon. So if you have any pieces that are too big, you can just use your fork to kind of cut them in half lengthwise. But yeah, see how it's just falling apart shredding. Then we're going to return that shredded chicken back into the pot. Oh, everybody say hi, Rosie. Now we're ready to remove from heat. I like to stir in some fresh parsley. This is optional, but it just gives so much color to the soup. And then we're ready to serve. Look how pretty it looks. Now it's time for my favorite part, trying it. Okay, so I switched to a ladle because it is a soup. So you want to get all that juiciness and all the broth in there with your soup. Don't forget, you can get the full recipe linked in the description. It's a brand new recipe, or you can always go to eatingonadime.com to grab it. Oh, it's so good, friends. Okay. It's really hot, so I'm going to have to be gentle. I love how my chicken is shredded. It's really diced up pretty small. My carrots and everything fit on the spoon. I'm just stalling because it's hot. It's still really hot, but it's actually really good. I say actually, everything's always good, but I'm just saying, like, even though it's piping hot, I need to let it set for a little bit, but the flavor is on point. Dare I say, better than at the restaurants. If you've ever gotten some chicken and soup, or chicken and rice soup, or chicken and wild rice soup, hands down, this is better. Remember, you can grab the full recipe linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you next time in Cut. Action. Action. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you next time in my kitchen for another family-friendly recipes. And in the meantime, don't forget to eat at home by eating on a dime. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.